What's up, everyone, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, episode 19. Now, in the last episode, we played the Allied defense against Marshal Ney's cavalry charge. And in this episode, we're going to be playing the same deal, only we're going to be playing as the French. We'll be playing General Wattier's division, who is part of Milhaud's corps. And this force that we're playing is only one part of the overall whole charge, which was made up of elements of Milhaud's corps as well as some of the Imperial Guard cavalry. Um, Now, this scenario is the definition of hit and run. Um, Basically, if you remember in the last episode where we played as the Allies, we formed up basically the pure cavalry version of the fortress formation, which is basically just a go-to formation I use, and I have variations of it for infantry, cavalry, or infantry and cavalry at the same time. And they're just slight variations on a theme of putting units in front of artillery batteries and keeping artillery batteries' fields of fire open so that they can inflict massive amounts of damage. And we use that as our primary weapon in the last scenario, where we played as the Allies. Fortunately, the AI does not know anything about the fortress or how to make one. So, as the French here, we do not have to worry about that. If we did, the scenario would be impossible. But we don't. So, basically, what we have to do here is um, the three artillery batteries that we had in the last episode, the ones that we built our defense around, we have to capture those three guns. And each one of those guns is sitting on a waypoint objective that is worth 250 points if you hold the position for 1 minute. So 250 points, there's three of them, that's 750 points right there. So real briefly before I get into the rest of this, we'll just read the situation here. Your division has finally been called upon after remaining in the rear for most of the day. It has executed a move to the front. Now, as the enemy lies before you, you wait for our cannon to quiet and for the inevitable order of forward march to follow. But where is your infantry support? As I mentioned in the monologue to the last scenario, there is no infantry support. This was a big mistake by Ney. But, basically all we have to do is capture three guns, hold the three or two or three batteries, however it works out. We just need to get to 1,000 points. So I'm going to roll the video forward just a little bit here. You can see our mission is capture the three battery objectives, 200 points for each objective captured, as many guns as possible, and find any unprepared enemy battalions and rout them. So let's pause it right here. Here is the position of the three guns, and this is our division right here, Wattier's division. We have two brigades, Travers and Dubois. Travers Brigade is only consists of 4 battalions. It's pretty small, and Dubois' brigade is much bigger. It has, I think, 6 or 7 battalions. And we're going to use them to just basically run forward, capture the guns, get the points from the objectives, and then get out of there like a thief in the night and run back to our lines as fast as we can. Because as cavalry, we really can't inflict any casualties on enemy units in square. Now, fortunately, the Allied units will not protect the artillery the way we did in the last scenario. So it's relatively easy to go up there and just capture the guns, occupy each objective. You only have to hold them for 1 minute. They're waypoint objectives. As soon as you hold them for 1 minute, you get the points, the objectives disappear, and you're free to do something else. So we're just going to run up there, get our guns, get our objectives, and get the hell out of there as fast as we can, because once we get over 1,000 points and we get those guns and we get those objectives, there is no way for us to keep getting points. We can't charge infantry squares. We clear out all the guns in the area. So there's really nothing left for us to do to get points. If we stay up there, all we're going to do is bleed the points we've already acquired. So this is, like I said, a hit and run. We're going to get in as fast as we can, get our guns, get our objectives, and get the hell out of there and get back behind our lines, way far away from anybody who can do any damage to us. Because we're just going to get over 1,000 points. It's not like we're going to have a huge buffer of points over 1,000 points. The scenario is set up in such a way that you get the objectives, that's 750 points. And as I said, we need 1,000 for a major victory. The guns we capture, if we get 2 batteries, that will pretty much put us over the top. And we'll have 1,000 points. But after that, there's no way for us to keep gaining points. All we're going to do if we stay up at the front is bleed them off and fall below 1,000 points, and then we don't win. So as soon as we get these guns and we get the three objectives, the 3 waypoint objectives, we want to beat it and get the heck out of there as fast as we can and get back behind our lines. So the first 15 minutes of the scenario is pretty frantic and exciting. And then the final 15 minutes is just us sitting behind our lines doing absolutely nothing. Because there's no way we can do anything after accomplishing what it is we have to accomplish. So let's get the scenario rolling here. Alrighty. So here we are. This is Waterloo, our division commander. We have 1,227 men. I am taking charge of all the officers below me, just so they don't do anything. And it says, begin the attack on the Allied center. Your division's orders are to maintain the integrity of the right flank as this assault moves forward. Once over the ridge, engage the enemy with full force and block all roads from the east to prevent reinforcements. Now, we're not going to do any of that crap. Once over the ridge, my ass. We're getting our guns, we're getting our objectives, and we're getting the hell out of here. That's what we're going to do, because that's the only way we can get the points we need and then keep them. Because if we stay up front and try and do whatever it is they told us to do, we're going to bleed off points, because we're just going to start getting shot at, and you know, we don't have any way to defend ourselves basically from that. You know, we don't shoot back. We're armed with, you know, swords and sabers and lancers and whatever else the cavalry was armed with. So we're going to send our brigades forward right towards the artillery batteries. There's no finesse to this scenario. We have to move forward and move in a pretty, you know, for lack of a better word, a pretty direct route, because one of the things we want to do is, you know, make sure our friendly units don't go and get rid of the guns before we get a chance to take them ourselves. We need those points. So you can see these units to the left of us here. We don't control any of these guys. All these guys moving forward down here, this is the AI controlling our friendly units. So in a way, we kind of have to beat them to the line so that we can get our guns, get our objectives, and, you know, get the heck out of here. Now, this is Dubois' brigade on the right here. Now, you'll see I'm taking 1 brigade, and I'm actually sending them towards this this unit that is out in the grove in front of Haye Sainte, and I'm just getting my division commander out of there. There's no reason to have him up front. So you see there's this little unit in the garden in front of Haye Sainte, and we're going to go and just charge them, get some free points, because these points will act as a buffer as the rest of our brigade is approaching. We're going to take some shots from the artillery. So in a way, these points will help us not kind of fall too far below 0 where we are now, so that we can get a positive score. Now, one of the things I'm doing, I'm taking this unit, I've put them on take charge, and I'm advancing them towards the grove. Now, in the top left corner here, you can see that the distance to the target is decreasing. And as I mentioned before, the maximum musket range is 150 yards. So when I see this get to 150, I'm going to double quick these guys, because at the point they come into firing range, we want them, which should be right about now, I think. There they go. They're double quicking, and we want to get through this as quickly as possible. Now, the woods, the little orchard here, it's going to slow us down a little. You can see they opened up with a volley fire. They took 4 of us down right away, but we're closing on them quickly. So now they took 5 of us down. 6 of us down. So we've lost 6 men so far, but we're about to crash right into these guys. Now they try to break for it, and it works as long as they're in the orchard, because the orchard is slowing us down. But once we get out of the orchard here, we are going to run these guys down and obliterate them. We've already caught a few of them. We're back to -3, but as soon as we get out of this orchard here, our speed is going to overtake them, and we'll begin racking up points. And these points are going to act as a buffer for the rest of the brigade. So as they move forward and they take losses, they're only going to be subtracting from a positive score and not going negative. So now we're running these guys down. We've got 40 points. I'm just mashing the charge button to keep them running them down. We are expending our fatigue fairly quickly. As I've said, cavalry is powerful but fragile, so you know it doesn't last long. But we got 45 points. That's a pretty good buffer, and our fatigue is now down to winded. So I don't want these guys to rout. Let's get them out of here. I'm just going to pull them back somewhere near the French lines, and we'll worry about them later. In the meantime, so I'm just making sure these guys actually get out of there. They're on take charge. I just want to make sure they don't take too many casualties from artillery on the Allied ridge there. And I think they do catch a hit right here and lose about 2 men or something. There they go. They caught, yeah. But after that, I think they're fine once they make it through this little tree line here. They're far enough away that I think I take them off take charge, and I'll just let them run back there. Now they're winded, they're pretty tired, so I'm not going to have them participate in the attack. I'm just going to, they did what I kind of wanted them to do and withdrew. So now one of my cavalry battalions has fallen back as we approach Haye Sainte, because as I said, I mentioned this in the last episode, Haye Sainte actually pays pretty good dividends for the Allies because they have units in there, and as the cavalry moves forward, you know, they get shot at and in the flank. And that's part of the reason, like I said, I wanted to give this brigade a buffer. You can see they have 40 points. You know, so they're going to lose some of that as they approach the artillery, but, you know, at least they're not getting, you know, bleeding off a lot of points. They're bleeding off points from a positive score. So now that we're passing Haye Sainte, I'm going to actually swerve this brigade and have them kind of turn right and face the artillery battery. And going to get very near to them. As I've mentioned, cavalry always tends to charge the units that are closest to them. So one of the ways you can make cavalry charge the units you want them to charge is simply by bringing them as close to the unit as you can before actually charging them. You can see we just got hit with a nasty burst of canister there. And you know, that's just something that's going to happen when you're attacking. That's why we're double quicked. We want to get up here as fast as possible, capture these guns, get the objective, and we will get this brigade out of here in a hurry. So we've occupied the objective now. As you can see, the Ross objective is counting down. We need to hold it for 1 minute, and we'll get 250 points. Also, we're getting 30 points per gun here. So we want to capture all these guns. And then we just got to hold out for another 40 seconds before this objective disappears, and then we will get this brigade the heck out of here. All right, so we got all the guns now. You kind of false charge against this square, but these squares, but don't worry. The cavalry knows not to go headlong into a square, and we pull them back. Now onto our next brigade. We got guns in front of us. Not too bad. We took 9 casualties on the approach, but let's go get these guns. So some of these guns are trying to move off, but we're going to get them. So we're running them down. Now I have the leader a little too far back to actually occupy the objective at the moment, but we'll bring him forward. And you'll also notice I switched to a single battalion instead of controlling from the brigade commander, and that's because this battalion right here went to charge the square, and I don't want that to happen. So I switched to this unit, who's the one charging the guns, and we're just going to control it by them. Now we're going to bring our brigade commander up, get him in range of the objective, get this last gun, form up around here for the next few seconds to get these points. I'm not clicked on the battery commander yet. You can see there now I am, and we got about 45 seconds to hold this position to acquire our points. So this last now on our first brigade, the timer has run out. We've got our 400 points or whatever, and I'm just clicking somewhere far back behind our lines and just ordering the entire brigade to just double quick the heck out of there as fast as possible. You know, this is all about just hitting and running. Get the guns, get the objectives, get out of there. You know, once these units form square, there's nothing we can do against them. There's not really any more guns. You know, some of these units are falling back, but, you know, they're just going to fall back and form square if we come near them. So, okay, now we've got the second objective. Now I'm going to briefly click back and somewhere way behind our lines and get this brigade moving. But in the process, I forgot there's one more objective. So right now I'm going to go to our leaders, check how many points we have. We have 784 points. We need 1,000. Oops, I forgot about that last objective. There it is. So no problem. We grab our brigade that is running back, and we're just going to redirect them over to that objective. Now, our friendly cavalry has actually already run off the guns that were on that position. They either overran them, or the guns retreated, or, you know, I didn't really see what was going on. So we can't get any more guns, but that's okay. 784 points. If we get another 250, that's going to put us over 1,000 points. And then we just have to beat it the hell back to our lines before the Allies have a chance to pick at us and you know, have us bleed up enough points to fall below 1,000 points. So here's my first brigade. Now they got their points, and they are on their way back. And they have 387 points. So now we have the third objective here. We have 393 points. So yeah, we're over 750 points total. We need this last 250 points from this objective to put us over the top. And then, like I said, we're just going to beat it back to our lines and basically sit there for the rest of the scenario, because there's nothing else to do. There's no more guns, there's no more objectives, nothing up there but infantry squares that will just pick us apart if we stay up there. So now I see the timer is almost down. I'm just looking for a good place to bring these guys back to, kind of right behind our artillery line. Sounds like a good spot. And I'm just watching the red timer here, and as soon as it falls below 0, you'll see the score jump to like 600 something points. There it goes, 638 points, and we will rush this brigade back here. So we'll put them in double line formation, whatever. The formation doesn't matter. Just pick one to get the brigade moving and double quick them. Just get them out of there as fast as possible. You can double quick cavalry a lot longer and a lot more often than you can infantry, because horses were just designed to run. That's what they do. All right, so we got 1,016 points. They do whittle a few points off of us, but they do not bring us down below 1,000 points before we get back to our lines. We make it back there safe and sound, over 1,000 points. We've won. So like I said, it's very quick and frantic up there. This is not a hard scenario to beat, so long as your grog toolbar skills are up to snuff. You know, as long as you're adept at switching between brigade commanders, switching between take charge and not take charge, and you know, just being able to get your units in there, control them well, and you know, get in and get out as fast as possible. Now, one of the things I did at the beginning, you saw when I picked these formations, is I'll pick the formation and the units. In order to pick a formation for the brigade commander can be on take charge, but the subordinate units cannot. If they are, they won't respond to the formation order because they're just brainless zombies if they're not under AI control. So one of the things I do is set the formation at the beginning when I go to, move them forward, and then I put them under AI control, all the units. If you need to change that formation or change the position you're going to move, you have to take all the units off of take charge, reselect the brigade commander, put him on take charge, select a formation, and then put all the units on take charge again. And there are certain buttons that work even if that you can use from the brigade commander, even if all your units are on take charge from AI, even if they are all under your control. Double quick is one of them. If you want, when you go to double quick, you don't have to take all your units off of take charge. You can leave them, just double quick from the brigade commander, and all the units will double quick even if they're on take charge. And charge is the other one. So you don't need to actually take the whole brigade off of take charge to make them charge. You can just hit the charge button on the brigade commander and all the units will charge. And this, here's my this is my last battalion here, the one that I used to charge the units in the garden at the beginning. I don't know where they wandered off to, but here they come. I thought I had sent them back somewhere else, but apparently they, when I took them off of take charge, in that brief amount of time that I had the whole brigade off take charge, they must have assigned themselves something to do and wandered off. Nevertheless, here they come. So our 4-battalion brigade here, Travers Brigade, they took 3 casualties on the way back and fell from 638 to 635, but that only dropped us from 1,016 points to 1,013 points. So we are still over 1,000 points, and that's pretty much it for anything we're going to do in this scenario. Like I said, it's very quick. We're not even halfway through the scenario. You can see it's 1614, about to be 1615, and we're back behind our lines, safe and secure, and snugly ensconced behind our very large artillery line there. The rest of our allied cavalry, they aren't quite so smart. They stand up there and let the British squares kind of pick at them. Some of the units rout, as you can see here. None of these, these guys aren't under our control. There's nothing we can do about it. We're only playing 1 division, and this was, basically a whole French cavalry corps that made this assault here. So we're only playing about 1/3 of the force that was involved. Most of it was elements of Milhaud's corps, along with a couple of battalions from the Guard cavalry. And the allies here have all formed square. There's really nothing any of these units can do at this point. They're just, up there too close, and they're just going to get picked apart by these squares. And unlike in the last episode where we played as the allies, where we had to move forward to protect the guns and to get the amount of casualties we need out of the French cavalry, which exposed us to artillery fire, all these squares here are basically behind the high part of the ridge, which our cavalry is kind of on. So our artillery really can't do any kind of damage to them because they're kind of out of line of sight. They're behind the high part of the ridge that we set up on in the last episode. So there's really no way for us to get any more points for the whole corps. The artillery really can't do much. The cavalry can't do much because, they're all formed behind squares. Off to the left here, we have a cavalry unit moving towards some of these guns, and maybe they can do something, but they're taking a hell of a beating from canister fire as they approach. But let's see, they are charging. And looks like they're going to get a gun or two. There they go. See, and this is why I mash the charge button. Because if you don't and just hit it, they'll charge 1 gun and then stop to reform, and then they'll charge the next gun. And, all the while they're, getting blasted on by these squares. They're letting, they're giving the artillery a chance to hit them. You know, this is why I mash it. You know, that way you don't have to stop to reform. You just run down the whole battery right away. You can see horses dropping, and they're routed. Off they go. Yeah, so that's why I mash the charge button, because I don't stop to reform. I just run everything down in one shot. And that works whether you're mashing from the brigade commander or an individual battalion. Just mash the charge button, and you will run everything down without stopping to reform. So there they go. They're running off. And most of these units here, they just, you know, there's nothing much for them to do. They're just kind of standing here getting shot at by these infantry squares. You know, there's not enough of a cavalry force left up there to really mount much of an attack. Most of these front allied units are in square. The cavalry can't really get past them. And we took our whole division and ran. So we took a third of the attacking force and got the hell out of Dodge, which would seem like a rather cowardly move, but hey, it's the only way to win this scenario. Once the objectives are gone and once the guns are taken, there's really no way else for us to get any more points. You know, staying up there, while maybe the honorable thing to do, you know, we're going to lose. You know, I'm not here to show you how to lose. I'm here to show you how to win. And I've said before, it might not be the most glorious thing, but sometimes it's the only thing you can do. You know, we got our points. There's no way to gain any more points. The only alternative is to turn heel and run. You know. So that's pretty much what we did. We got our objectives, we got our points, we got our guns, and we got out of there with just over 1,000 points. You know, the overall outcome of the scenario as a whole, in terms of the actual core assault, is completely irrelevant to what we as a division have to accomplish. You know, this assault was a complete failure historically, and the scenario author, who I believe is Red Bugler actually, from the Norpsoft design team, you know, found basically gave us a way to win in terms of what we have to accomplish as a division, without actually having to make it so that the entire assault has to succeed, because that would be impossible. You know, this was a real foolhardy attack by Ney to send all this cavalry forward with no artillery or infantry support. You know, there's just no way to break infantry squares without your own infantry to do it. So, you know, the attack was never going to succeed, and it doesn't here either. But the mission that we had to accomplish as a division within the context of the overall scenario was accomplished. So for us, it's a major victory, because we got our objectives, we got our guns, we got our 1,000 points, and we got the hell out of there, because there was nothing more we could do. There's nothing we can do to make this attack succeed. It's not going to succeed. You know, all the infantry is formed in square. You can see the Allies have just a ton of cavalry back here. God help us if they decided to unleash that, because they would quickly destroy us. You know, just a ton of cavalry back there. So yeah, there's really nothing we could have done in terms of the overall assault to make it succeed. It was never gonna succeed. So we captured we basically did what we had to do to achieve a major victory for us, for our division. You know, we did well, even if we, you know, acted somewhat cowardly in getting the hell out of there as fast as we can. You know, it's a video game. You need points to win. You know, and once we get our points, and there's no way to get any more points, you know, the only thing we could do is bleed off points by staying up there, up at the front, and falling below the number of points we need to get a major victory. So there's really no alternative but to run back out of danger so we can hold on to our points. And that's basically what we do. We don't get hit anymore. You know, we got our 1,013 points. We are way back behind any of the action, safe behind all our guns. There's our 2 brigades. And yeah, pretty much we're just going to sit here, you know, for another 10, 12 minutes here while the timer runs out. And, you know, get our win. And I think for the rest of the scenario, I'll just kind of take you on a little tour of the battlefield here and show you an aerial view. I go down to ground level, I think, and show you some of the different elevations and how the Allied squares are pretty safe at the moment because they are behind the highest point of the ridge, so they're not really getting hit by the artillery because the artillery can't really see them. You know, some of our cavalry keep trying to move forward, but so this is Milhaud here. This is the corps commander, and as you can see, he only has 1,184 points. Now remember, 1,013 of those points are just from our division, so the whole rest of the assault has only garnered about 180 points or something. You know, it's a complete failure on you know, on the corps scale, because, you know, he's taken 500 something casualties and only inflicted, you know, 50. You know, that doesn't count any of the artillery batteries that, you know, our friendly units have overrun. Artillery units, when you overrun them with cavalry, they don't count as part of the casualty score. They just count, you just see it reflected in the points, not really the casualties. You know, here's some more of our cavalry. Brave lads, they're trying to move up and do something, but there's just really nothing for them to do. I mean, look at all this cavalry back here. If they got too close, they would just activate this cavalry, and that would be brutal, because there's just tons of it back here. You know, none of our cavalry units actually get close enough to, you know, provoke them, but you know, you could just see how much cavalry is back here, and there was never any chance of this attack succeeding. So we have an Allied square. They're just picking at our cavalry, picking it apart. And like I said, the rest of this cavalry up here is not under our control. There isn't anything we can do about it. If it were, you know, I would pull them back and get them out of danger, because there's nothing more they can do. Alright, so here you're getting a good look at just how protected these infantry squares are. They are really behind the ridge here, and, you know, the artillery cannot see them. They're perfectly safe. And as soon as this cavalry reaches the top of the ridge here, the square will start opening up on them. You'll see their points start to drop. They're at 52 right now. And there's just nothing for them to do. So you'd see they're dropped from 52 to 50 now. They're just taking 21 casualties. They're just, you know, they're getting picked off by these allies in square formation that they can't hurt, and they're very quickly going to turn heel and run. There's nothing for them to do. There they go. I do wish the friendly AI was smart enough to actually pull these cavalry units back out of, at least out of musket range, you know. There's no reason for them to be standing there just getting shot at by these infantry squares. But it doesn't really make any difference for us, you know, because we don't control any of these guys, and so nothing that happens to them has any effect on us, has any effect on our score. You know, we'll, we're already back behind the lines, safely ensconced behind our artillery batteries. We're not going to lose any more points, but these units out here are just getting picked apart for no reason. There's really not much more they can do. There is a gun battery over there, right there, that they could go and get, but the AI does not match the charge button, and so even if they get 1 or 2 guns, they're going to take too long to do it, because they're going to reform between each charge and probably get shot at and run off. So we got about 2 more minutes here of just sitting around. Not much more for us to do. So here's the map. You can see just how many British Allied forces are back there versus just our little group of cavalry right here. And look at all this. We're back here behind our guns, safe and sound. There's just nothing they can do. This was definitely one of the biggest blunders Ney made during the battle. Even Napoleon was pissed that he did it. Should also be noted that, like I said, this ridge is pretty high, and back behind it here, from Ney or Napoleon's point of view, they never really had any idea of what was truly back here behind the ridge, kind of until the very end when the Imperial Guard kind of did get to the top of the ridge and saw what was crammed back here and, chose the better part of valor and ran away. So that's pretty much it. We got about 10 seconds left. Nothing more really going on. And here we go. Our major victory, at least for our division. We took 140 casualties. We only inflicted 28 casualties, and that was just the casualties we inflicted on that opening unit, that unit in the garden in front of Haye Sainte. The artillery that we captured, that doesn't count as casualties, just points. So that's why looks like we took more casualties than we inflicted. So, yeah, so the first 15 minutes or 10 minutes really of that scenario is pretty frantic and pretty exciting, and then the last half of it, you're pretty much sitting behind your lines waiting for the time to run out. The real key to this scenario, it's not hard at all. Just be good with the Grog toolbar. Just be good at handling the 2 brigades you have, getting them up there as quick as possible, getting them to charge the guns, and then after they charge the guns, make sure you rein them in and, just form them up by the objective. They're only going to need to stand there for a minute. Yes, they're going to get shot at while they're standing there, but they only need to hold the objective for a minute. So you get the guns, you get the objective, and you get out of there. And the smaller brigade, you're going to take the middle battery and the middle objective, and then start to bring them back and then divert them over to the left to get the 3rd objective. By the time you get to that 3rd objective, more than likely your friendly units, the rest of the cavalry that's not under our control, will have either captured the guns there or run them off. So you're not going to get the 3rd battery. You're just going to get the objective, but that's enough. If you're fast enough and you're quick enough, and you get out of there before you can bleed off enough points, the 3 objectives and the 2 batteries are enough. to get you your points. Just remember, go after that first unit with one. Just take one battalion. Go after that first unit that's out there in the grove in front of in the orchard in front of Haye Sainte. Run them down. That'll give you some points. That will act as a buffer for losing points on the approach, because that your right brigade, Dubois' brigade, is going to have to pass Haye Sainte, and they're going to get shot at in the flank as they do that. Right around the time you're either passing Haye Sainte or getting close to passing it, double quick to get your units up to that battery as fast as possible so that they're not eating a ton of canister fire. Double quick the other brigade as well. As soon as you get up there, mash the charge button, capture all the guns, form up and hold the objective for 1 minute. While they're holding that objective, go over to the other brigade, charge those guns, and form up and hold that objective. By the time that's done, the timer of the first objective should have run out. Grab that first brigade and just get them back there behind your lines as fast as possible. Double quick them. You can run them all the way back. You want to get out of there as fast as possible so that you don't get you don't take a lot of casualties as you're passing Haye Sainte again. You don't need to worry about too much artillery hitting you on the way back, because if you did your job right, you've captured those guns, so they can't shoot at you on the way back. But certainly the soldiers in Haye Sainte can pick you off as you pass them yet again. So you want to just double quick like a bat out of hell as fast as you can and get them back behind the lines. And the second brigade, when their objective timer runs out, start to bring them back, and then as they get back behind the kind of the forward wave of the French cavalry, divert them over to the third objective. The guns there will probably be gone by the time you get to that objective, because your friendly cavalry will have run them down, but they cannot occupy the objective. Only you can. So grab that objective. It's another 250 points. If you're fast enough, if you're quick enough, that should put you over 1,000 points, and just beat it. Get back to your gun line and just sit there for the rest of the scenario, and watch as the rest of your cavalry gets picked off by the Allies, because there's nothing more for you to do. You can't help them. All you're going to do is lose the points you acquired. So that's all you can do. Just hit and run. Get in there, get the guns, get the objectives, get out of there. And that's how you win the scenario. So I believe that's it for this scenario. I think we are really closing in on the end of the division scenarios. I think there's only 2 left, and they both deal with the final phase of the battle. The next one we'll be playing is the Allied defense on the divisional level of the attack by the French Imperial Guard. We already touched on that briefly in I think it was episode 9, where we played that situation at the brigade level in La Garde Recul. And in the next scenario we'll be covering that same situation, but from a divisional standpoint. And we're not playing the same forces as in La Garde Recul. We're playing the Dutch Belgians. And then after that is Napoleon's finale, and that will be it for the divisional scenarios. And then we'll move on to the core scenarios. So we are now more than halfway through all the scenarios in the game, and we'll just keep going. All right, guys, that's it for now. Take it easy.